Lee Radziwill passed away in her Manhattan apartment in February 2019. At the time, many people thought she had run out of money. Even the Kennedy family believed she was selling her jewelry just to cover her living expenses. But just 5 weeks later, lawyers revealed a shocking truth. Lee had been hiding a secret fortune worth $50 million. What surprised everyone even more was the way she had changed her will just months before her death. The person she chose to inherit everything left people speechless. This was not simply about money. It was her final move in a family rivalry that had lasted for decades and had first begun with her famous sister, Jackie Kennedy. Lee was born Caroline Lee Bouvier on March 30, 1933, at Doctors Hospital in Manhattan. The hospital was known for treating some of the wealthiest families in New York. Even in such an elite place, her birth caused excitement. Her father, John Blackjack Bouvier, was a Wall Street broker who looked wealthy but did not actually have much money. He wore a camel haircoat that he could not afford, handed out cheap cigars, and insisted that his daughter's birth be announced in the New York Times. At that time, such an announcement cost $16, which is equal to almost $350 today. As Lee's mother, Janet, recovered from childbirth, her father sent out 48 birth announcements printed on Tiffany stationery decorated with a gold family crest. The crest, which was supposed to show a noble French heritage, had in fact been purchased for a few $100s from a Manhattan shop. By the end of that day, word had spread all along Park Avenue that the Bouvier family now had 2 beautiful daughters. Jacqueline, who was already 4 years old, was called incomparable. Now there was also Lee. Their father quickly became known for his reckless behavior. Between 1935 and 1939, private detectives recorded him having at least 23 affairs. His lovers included showgirls, wealthy women, and even married socialites. He bragged that he could drink a quart of scotch and still manage to charm a woman before midnight. Lee was only 7 when she heard her mother crying after discovering that he had pawned his sapphire cufflinks to pay for a trip to Havana with another woman. Growing up in this chaotic environment shaped Lee's views on love and men. Her nannies often told stories about her father's behavior as if they were fairy tales. Later in life, Lee admitted that she was attracted to men who were much like him. Men with money, titles, or wild reputations. She once told writer Truman Capote, "Daddy taught me 2 things, champagne before noon and never expect fidelity." By the time she turned 17, Lee was already gaining fame in her own right. On Christmas Day in 1950, Life magazine published a full-page feature about her debut into society. The photograph, taken by Milton H. Green, showed her in a white satin gown inspired by Dior that cost $900 and was decorated with over 400 pearls. Her mother was so proud that she ordered 2,000 copies of the photo to be sent as holiday cards. The postage alone cost more than most families paid in rent for an entire month. Life magazine received over 1,300 letters asking about the sparkling tiara she wore. The tiara was not hers but borrowed from her aunt Edith Beale, who would later become known for her eccentric lifestyle in Grey Gardens. That year, there were nearly 2,000 young debutantes across the United States. Yet, privately, the magazine's editors ranked Lee as number 1 in terms of beauty and photogenic charm. At one event in Philadelphia, another girl was described as pretty, but no Lee Bouvier. The attention made Jackie feel uncomfortable. She told a friend that it was as if the world had crowned Cinderella before her stepsister had even arrived at the ball. Her nickname Lee was not simply chosen for convenience. Her mother picked it on purpose to make sure the Bouvier name, her own maiden name, would appear in newspapers and stay linked to social prestige. Lee later attended Miss Porter's School in Connecticut, which was known for preparing wealthy girls to marry European aristocrats. The tuition was $1,400 a year, which was about 3 times the cost of attending an Ivy League university at that time. At the school, Lee did well in subjects like the decorative arts of the French monarchy but struggled in anything related to money management. Her classmates remembered her practicing curtsies in front of mirrors, while another girl timed her to make sure her bow was perfectly graceful. Many girls kept scrapbooks of eligible bachelors, and Lee's included titled European men such as the Duc de Brissac and the Earl of Dalhousie. By the time she graduated in 1951, Lee could set a table for 18 guests, identify 42 types of French cheese by smell, and recite the correct way to address nearly every royal family in Europe. The Bouvier family, however, was not as wealthy as they appeared. Their lifestyle looked glamorous, but much of it was based on appearances, borrowed money, and her mother's trust fund. Tax records revealed that Blackjack's brokerage firm had lost more than $200,000 between 1930 and 1940, which would be the equivalent of $4 million today. To maintain appearances, he borrowed heavily, stayed at expensive hotels, and hired chauffeurs. The Bouvier name was said to come from French nobility, but in reality, it traced back to Michel Bouvier, a Philadelphia cabinetmaker who once traded firewood with Dolly Madison. Even their family crest had no real connection to royalty. It was simply copied from a French book. Still, to outsiders, everything about their world sparkled with wealth and status. When Lee was just 20 years old, she decided to marry Michael Temple Canfield. The wedding took place on April 18, 1953, at her stepfather Hugh Auchincloss's estate. The event was organized quickly, only 8 weeks after their engagement, and nearly 700 guests attended. Society columns described the marriage as a fairy tale romance, but in private, Lee admitted that she mostly wanted to escape her home life. Her father showed up drunk to the wedding, and Jackie had to lead him around the gardens to prevent him from causing a scene. The ceremony itself was rushed, with no formal reception afterward. As soon as they exchanged vows, Lee and Michael left for the airport to catch an evening flight to London. Michael came from a powerful publishing family, but there were rumors that he was more than just a Canfield. Many whispered that he was actually the secret son of Prince George, Duke of Kent, and Alice Preston, a glamorous American who was addicted to drugs and tragically died in 1946 after jumping from a hotel window. Prince George himself had already died in a plane crash in 1942. According to gossip, their child was adopted and given the name Michael Canfield. Even Michael's second wife later claimed that the Duke of Windsor once stared at him during lunch and muttered, "I'm certain your husband is my brother's son." Although the rumor added a sense of mystery and royal connection to Michael's identity, Lee's family had their doubts about the match. Her stepfather whispered before the ceremony that Michael would never be able to afford her lifestyle. Her name was Lee Bouvier. She had just divorced, but her first marriage had not yet been annulled by the church. The man waiting beside her was Prince Stanislav Radziwill. On paper, their marriage was not entirely legal. Behind the scenes, the powerful Kennedy family quietly worked to convince the Vatican to erase her past and make her new marriage fully recognized. Took more than 3 years to sort out, but in that moment, none of it mattered. On the day of the wedding, traffic stopped outside Caxton Hall in London. Cameras flashed over 30,000 times as Lee stepped out, dressed like a woman from a royal fairy tale.